So basically, in the studio at the moment, I'm making liner works, which are a body of work by themselves, plaster works, which will be bronzed at some point, which are works by themselves but relate to the lino works, same sort of narrative. Have painting works on the go, which relate to different sorts of painting that's going on, which is different to the lino works, but there are still strong connections. It's still me making them, it's still the same aesthetic sensibility. They're not narrative in the same ways. There's no birds in here, there's no little trees or suns or moons or what have you. But there's circular forms that are like moons and what have you. And there's also a lot of drawing taking place in the work. So, like, drawing is very, very important for me as a way of generating ideas, just on a piece of paper. But it's also important for me to put it in the work because it helps me resolve the aesthetic issues that are actually going on in the paintings. So this is the lino cutting area, and all I use is a knife, linoleum, piece of plywood, glue, and then start to inlay it. Once it's inlaid, it goes on the wall, series of works. There's always, like, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 6 works here that are either cut out waiting to be stuck down, or just laid down like this one, and I'll begin to draw around those shapes, take the shapes away, cut those areas out and lay them in. And remember that when I lay that down on here and cut it out, I get a piece exactly the same shape of this, but in a different lino, and it goes into this pile. So this is a midden, it's an archaeological midden. So all the works in a series relate to each other very, very strongly, very specifically, because there are similar shapes or the same shapes and one thing or another interacting. So when you see a body of work, you'll see all kinds of relationships going on between one and the other, and that development takes place. The table down here, which is where I paint, is full of rubbish as well, or full of bits of cloth and one thing and another. So you see a piece of yellow material that I've cut out here, and what I'll do is I'll go over to a painting and I'll stick it on the painting just to see what it's like, either on the wall or on the floor. And once the painting started, like the lino has, that something's happening, then I'll commit myself and stick that material down or draw around it and paint that area. And then put it on the wall. And again, there's a whole bunch of works, paintings on the go at the moment that refer to each other. So I'll change them around, put them in different situations next to each other and see what they look like. I'll turn them round, see if they look better that way than this way and what have you. For me, work comes out of work. I don't start with an idea and work on one work to a fruition, in other words. I work on a large body of work, and those works talk to me and to themselves and develop as a group. So it's very important for me because, you know, when you're at school, when you're an artist, whatever you're doing, when you're making art, there's only one way to actually make good work, and that's to work your butt off. And you work all the time, and good work comes out of that. As you can see in the bookshelves, even though my work refers very directly to a number of artists, there are books in here that one wouldn't think would refer, like monuments of Romanesque art, for instance, here. Well, I haven't looked in this book for ages, but that's not to say that it's not going to come out of the bookshelf at some point. I'm going to browse through it over a coffee, and I'm going to go, oh yeah, that's really interesting. I'm not looking for things to put in work or to direct work. What I'm doing, and what you should be doing, and what every artist does, if they have any sense, is browse all the time. When you're at school, every school kid does painting, you know? Everybody, at some point. And there's this notion that the high fine arts is painting. It's the most important artwork, art form, art activity, you know? And that simply isn't true. Firstly, you may think you want to be a painter, but you might not get the opportunity. Who cares? Do something else. I mean, you know, be a designer for a while, be a photographer for a while, be a fashion designer for a while. Until you do those things, you don't know what they're like and how passionate you are about them.